record this time. Hello, we are the Real Movie Duels podcast, episode 3.
Yeah, we're on time this time.
On time? Yeah, it's only been 2 weeks. So, man, I don't know if we can maintain... We probably won't maintain this pace because next week is Halloween and I'll throw us off by a week, probably.
Yeah.
And we haven't even decided what we're watching for next one, so that's another problem. Anyway, I'm Drew.
And I'm Nick.
And we try to get together every couple weeks, and we do a movie duel. So we pick 2 movies, and they battle it out, cage match, winner take all, and we decide which movie we think is better. We try and pick movies that sort of complement each other.
Yeah.
I think
we've been pretty mainstream so far, but this week we're going off the beaten path a little bit.
Yeah, it's not that these movies weren't mainstream, but they weren't like super big hits, or they're not super, I mean, they were known at the time, but they're a little more obscure. I mean, but they were like major releases and all that.
Yeah.
But and they're not super old either. I mean, most of the other ones we did were older. These are pretty recent.
Yeah.
Like the last
15.
20 years, probably 15
years.
Yeah, I would say so. All right. My phone is going to keep doing that, which is annoying.
Yeah. You didn't even say which movies we're doing.
Yes, we haven't got there yet.
No.
We're getting there. All right, so this week we're doing Secret Window
versus Identity.
Yeah. Secret Window is a Johnny Depp movie, and Identity had John Cusack, Ray Liotta, and then sort of a hodgepodge kind of
cast.
Ensemble cast. But people you knew, but it's mostly people who were kind of hot like right then. A lot of them haven't had much of a career since.
Secret Window based on a Stephen King story, by the way.
Yes. I don't think Identity was based on anything.
I don't think so.
Not that I know of. Definitely not a Stephen King story.
Maybe loosely based on like 12 Little Indians or something.
Could be.
The plot for it could have been derived from that.
It just kind of got that sort of thing going. Cool. So, do we want to start with Secret Window, which I'm going to recap, or are we going to start with Identity, which you are going to recap?
Let's start with Secret Window.
All right.
You stole my story.
I don't believe I know you.
I know you, Mr. Rainey. That's what matters. You stole my story.
All right, Secret Window. This was directed by David Koepp, who I believe is normally a screenwriter, so I don't think he's directed a lot of movies, but he directed this movie based on a Stephen King story called Secret Window, Secret Garden. It was actually a novella. It was part of like a 4-part book he put out. It had like 4 stories in it. And it was kind of at Johnny Depp's height, wasn't it? Like it was after Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one. He was kind of on a career resurgence a little bit, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, so but this one kind of lets him exercise his acting chops a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
A little bit. He has some interesting quirks he does. So anyway, the story is Johnny Depp is a writer. Fairly successful writer. He has like a house upstate in like Maine, and he has a house in the city, which I don't know what city. Is it New York or is it? I don't know. He has this house in the city that's pretty fancy. Anyway, he's recently gotten divorced. And so his wife is at the city house, but not really staying there because she's with her boyfriend who she was having an affair with, which is why they're getting a divorce, because he caught them having an affair, which was pretty traumatic for him, obviously. Yeah. And then he's staying up at the house, or in upstate in Maine, so it's kind of like a cabin in the woods kind of thing. And so he's trying to write a new novel, and he's having very, very little success. It's funny, they show a couple lines of what he's written, and even I can tell it's like the worst writing ever. It's like something like a 5th grader would write or something. Like not a very good 5th grader, and it's like really bad. And so he can't get past like page 1. And so he's sleeping a lot or whatever, and he's just taking naps. He's just kind of being a bum because he's all kind of depressed from his marriage dissolving, which I don't think the marriage is finalized yet, but they're separated and the divorce is happening.
Right.
So all of a sudden he gets a visit on his door. Some guy knocks on his door, and it's John Turturro, who is John Shooter, I think is his name, maybe? Yeah. Something Shooter. And he says, you stole my story, which is, obviously
and he's from Mississippi.
And he's got this really weird, like, southern drawl accent. I like John Turturro as an actor, so he does a pretty good job.
I thought he did a really good job in this one.
Yeah. So anyway, he's there, and he is accusing Johnny Depp of stealing his story. And Johnny Depp's, what? Who are you? Because I guess writers get, like, these weird crackpots show up every once in a while. And he doesn't know if this is, like, a normal crackpot, or a super crazy guy or whatever. He's like, he's like, no, I didn't. And he's like, what are you talking about? And the guy says, well, this is my story that I wrote and you stole it. And he tries to hand it to him. And Johnny Depp is like, dude, I'm not touching that. Because, writers don't look at other writers' unpublished manuscripts because that's how they get accused of stealing stuff, right? So he's like, no, I'm not touching that. He's like, whatever. He's like, we need to settle this. And Johnny Depp just kind of shuts the door on him. And so he sets it like outside on his like little deck under a rock so it doesn't blow away. And he walks away. And he said, I'll be back. So, of course, Johnny Depp gets curious. And so he opens the door and he looks at it. And it's very similar to a story that he wrote. And so he's like
almost word for word.
Like almost word for word. And he's like, well... And so he comes up with this plan. Well, first he tries to throw it in the trash. And he has like a house cleaning lady who picks it up out of the trash. He thought it was his. And so he takes it. Well, then I think he's out walking. And he's like, there's a path kind of by his house. And he's out walking on the path. And he notices the guy is like parked out there with his car waiting for him. And so he runs into the guy. And the guy, see, you stole my story. He's like, well, when did you write yours? And he gives him like a date or whatever. Now, I may be getting confused because I read the book, so if some of my details are different, let me know.
No, you're good so far.
Okay. And so he tells the guy, well, when did you write yours? And the guy tells him, he's like, well, actually, mine was actually published before that, so I can prove it. It was in a magazine, which he said, the way that, because he figures, most people didn't know it was published in a magazine.
Before it became
a novel, or was in a collection or whatever that he published after he got big. And so... he said, I can prove it. I can get the magazine. The guy still doesn't believe him. And so he says, okay, you have 3 days to produce the magazine or things are going to go down or something like that. He's like, whatever. And so he's calling his agent to try and procure this magazine. Oh, no, he has it at his house. So he's going to go to his house and get it. So he's trying to get a hold of somebody at the house so he can go and get it. And I think then nighttime happens and he finds is it his cat or dog.
Yeah.
So he's walking around at night. He finds his dog with his head split open or nailed to the side of the house or something.
It's like a screwdriver.
Screwdriver right through the dog's head. And so obviously he thinks this John Shooter guy did it. And so he's starting to get a little concerned because the guy killed his dog or whatever.
He's freaking out.
I think in the book it was a cat, which is why I was confused. But either way is fine. An animal. His pet was killed. And I think somewhere, so that happens. And then at some point, shortly thereafter, he gets a call from his soon-to-be ex-wife that their house has burned down.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? My house burned down? And so he's thinking this guy went and burned his house down because that's where he had the magazine. And so he's got this whole conspiracy theory thing. And so I think he calls his agent and he tries to procure a copy of the magazine. And the guy's going to FedEx it to him or mail it to him at the post office or whatever. And he also has what is that actor's name? It's not Forrest Whitaker, is it? Anyway,
Charles Dutton.
Charles Dutton. Anyway, he gets this guy who's kind of like his fixer bodyguard, private eye or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Some kind of hired muscle to kind of help him confront this guy and kind of protect him and try and get to the bottom of what this guy's doing. Maybe find some dirt on him or protect him or kind of see what this guy's up to when he's not tormenting Johnny Depp. And so I think he runs into him a few more times around his cabin and they have a weird interchange. I think at one point isn't there a scuffle or something?
Yeah.
I don't know. And they kind of shoved each other, but nothing too bad. And so...
I think Johnny Depp takes a swing at him with his shovel or something.
Yeah, and he
misses, and the other guy picks him up and slams him against a tree or something.
Yeah, see, in the book, they kind of said how they said Johnny Depp kind of could take the guy pretty easily if he wanted to, type of thing. In the movie, though, I think John Turturro is much more menacing than Johnny Depp is.
Yeah.
He
was pretty much cowering from John Turturro every time he was around.
And Johnny Depp is doing a really good job acting. He starts developing this weird tick with his mouth, his jaw feels funny or something. He's doing these weird things, his ears are popping. I don't know. He just does these weird, interesting ticks that Johnny Depp kind of does.
Yeah.
And so anyway, all this is going on, and then so he has to meet with his wife and the insurance people to figure out all the house burning stuff, and he has a confrontation with the wife's new guy, and they kind of see Thomas Howell, right? Or Timothy Hutton, I think it is. But I get those guys mixed up. But yeah, so anyway, it's all that, and then he goes back to the house, and he gets the guy. Well, then, I don't know exactly how it happens, but he finds the guy he hired, and then another guy who he thinks saw him with the other guy with a screwdriver in their heads.
Yeah, one of them had been axed, and one of them
had been screwdriver. So they were both dead, and then I think John Shooter shows up and says, "Yeah, I framed you for it, and it's gonna look like you did it. Now we got to settle this or whatever." So Johnny Depp is like freaking out. This guy's killing people, and he wants him to sell the story. He's like, "Dude, it's," and so he finally gets the magazine, right?
Yeah.
Like he gets it from the post office, and he opens it up, and the pages where his story was are like ripped out. Like it goes to like page 81, it's like 89 or something like that. Yeah. And so he's like, how is this happening? He's like freaking out, and he's just being real paranoid, and we don't want to give the twist away.
I don't think we should give the twist
away.
There is a big twist at the end.
There's a big twist, and that's kind of why we chose these movies. They both have a big twist. We won't give the twist away, but check it out. It's got a cool twist, and then it shows some cool acting on Johnny Depp's part, and I don't know, it's pretty cool. So I enjoyed Secret Window? Secret Window?
Secret Window.
It's a pretty quick movie. I mean, it's like you said, it's an hour and a half.
Yeah, it seemed a lot shorter than I remembered it.
But there's not much to it, because the story's kind of that way too. The story is just like a novella. It's not very long.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good story. I mean,
I really enjoyed the twist. And I think when I first saw it, I didn't really see that twist coming. I think they do a good job of not leading up to it.
Right.
Or not giving it away.
Sure.
So, like, when you hear it, you're like, oh, and then it all kind of clicks. Like, kind of the Sixth Sense kind of click. It's like, oh, yeah, it makes sense now, obviously.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the ending in this is different than the book. The book has a less dark ending. This one has a very dark ending.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's wrong with Corn on the Cob?
Right? I mean, just the fact that he kind of, the bad person in the movie gets away with it. How about that?
Yeah.
Whereas in the book, the bad person in the movie does not get away with it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a little bit twist there. So I usually call that darker when the bad guy wins at the end, basically. So yeah. Anyway, so what'd you think about it?
I like it.
You like it? It was good? Like I said, the twist was good.
Like you said, the first time I saw it, I didn't see the twist coming either. So it's kind of like, that's why I kind of don't want to give these two away. Because they're a little more or less known, so people may not have seen them yet.
Correct. No, that's...
it's a really cool ending.
Yeah, cool ending. And I thought Johnny Depp did a really good job on the acting side.
Yeah.
Like I said, that little weird...
I thought John Turturro did a really good job.
Yeah, he was really good too. But like that whole... Like we were watching, my mother-in-law was like watching it like in the background or whatever, and she was like, why is he doing that thing with his mouth? Because he like kept like popping his jaw or going, ah, or whatever he was doing. It's like, I don't know, but it was a fun little character tick that he kind of developed to kind of indicate certain things. I thought it was kind of cool.
Oh.
But like I said, it's a pretty simple movie, pretty basic. It's got a twist. I guess my one thing is like the story is pretty simple for what it is. You know what I mean? There's not a lot there. And so it's an hour and a half, but even at an hour and a half, it feels like... It doesn't feel like drawn out or long, but if it was much longer than that, it would probably feel dragged out.
Yeah. Or they'd have to add something in.
Yeah, they'd have to add some more things in there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was a fun little...
Yeah, it's a lot of Johnny Depp just kind of acting by himself a lot of the time, too.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's kind of like...
As he's kind of freaking out and trying to figure out what's going on.
I mean, there's like a scene where he like busts into the house and he thinks the guy's in there and he's like hitting everything and breaking everything and all that. Yeah. But like... There is one thing, like, okay, so at the end where there's a twist and they show the cabin, it's like, well, when did all that happen, right? Like, that was kind of a weird... when did he do all that? I mean, he wasn't even... I mean, it was just... There were a few of that was, like, more for effect, but if you think about it practically, well, it doesn't really jive, but...
Yeah.
Don't look too close, I'm sure. But if you go with the flow, it's pretty fun.
The only thing that matters is the ending. It's the most important part of the story, the ending. And this one is very good. This one's perfect.
What's going on? Go in your room and lock your door.
All right, so now we're going to do Identity.
Identity, directed by James Mangold.
And as I just pointed out, he did Logan recently.
Yeah. So this was one of his earlier films. It's also a suspense thriller type movie. It starts out and it's raining really hard, and it starts out with John Cusack. He's with a movie actress. He's like a limo driver.
Yes.
And he's driving her, and they're trying to get through the road, and the roads are all, I mean, it's like pouring, and the roads are starting to flood, and they can't really get anywhere. And they end up seeing another couple out there, and they have a flat tire, and they're trying to change the tire, and the lady walks out onto the highway, and
stupidest thing ever.
John Cusack is like trying to pay attention to, I don't remember what was going on, but he lost.
I think she was on the phone or something.
He was trying to like grab something for the actress or something in the back seat, and he looks away from the road for a minute, and he ends up hitting this woman.
Yeah, but okay, so she's like on the wrong side of this tire changing operation because she's waving to the boy who's in the car, right? And she like steps away from the car like a good like foot or two, you know.
Well, she's like mimiking the kid, right?
Yeah.
So like the kid waves, she waves, he moves back, she moves back, and then like that's when she gets hit.
Yeah, but if you're on a dark road where it's raining and you're trying to fix a tire on the side of the road, you don't ever. I mean, even if you don't see a car coming, but she should have seen a car coming. You don't step out into the lane.
Right. And I don't think they were like on a major highway or anything, but
correct,
because there wasn't a lot of traffic.
No, it was like a side road.
But she gets hit, and so John Cusack is like, "Oh my God, we got to help this lady, right?" And the actress is just like, "Keep going, you know, we need to go to the airport or wherever they're going." And he's like, "No, lady, shut up. I'm gonna go help these people, right?" So it's like a dad, a mom, and a kid.
Yeah.
And so he's helping the mom, and she's in real bad shape. So he tells them to get in his car, and they go back to this hotel that they had just passed. And so they end up getting a room. The phones aren't working there. They can't get a hold of anybody. Well, they find out that he's like an ex-cop. So he knows, well, I guess they don't find that out just yet. But
no, not yet.
But he has like medical experience
from
his past. So he's like stitching her up and doing everything he can to help her, you know, get better. And then we see another lady that she's trying to get through the roads, and she's getting to these parts that are flooded. She can't go anywhere. So she ends up coming back, and there's another couple, a younger couple.
And that lady's a prostitute, right?
Yes. She's a prostitute.
Working woman.
Yes. And then, so the guy that runs this hotel, they all end up coming to this hotel.
Sure.
Because there's nowhere else. Like, it's blocked off on one side, it's blocked off on the other side. This is basically the only place they can get to.
Now, quick aside, the movie actually starts with there's some guy who's on death row, right? There's that scene in the beginning.
Right. So there's like two different stories going on.
Correct. So there's a guy on death row, and they're like trying to do a stay of execution. So they're like assembling like the judge and like the state people and the attorneys and the DAs and all that stuff.
Right.
And they're trying to get this criminal...
He's like
to the meeting.
He's scheduled to be executed the next day.
Correct.
So and they're trying to get it to where, you know, one last thing where they can get a stay of execution or figure out what's going on with him for sure.
And so we know that they're transporting this criminal to this meeting or whatever.
Right. So then back to the hotel, there's another younger couple that ends up showing up. And so there's the prostitute, she's there, and you find out that the hotel guy hates prostitutes.
Yeah, he's like a really anti-prostitute.
Like, he is just completely doesn't want to help her, doesn't want to give her room.
Yeah, he's like, she goes for a room, he's like, we don't rent by the hour. She's like, I'm not renting for the hour. I don't even have a John with me. What is your problem, dude? But yeah, it was like...
And so then finally our last group to show up is a U.S. Marshal, and he has a criminal in custody, which is Jake Busey.
Correct.
And he looks really dangerous, and he's in the red or the orange jumpsuit and everything.
Yeah, and his acting is not very good in this.
Busey?
Yeah, he's just kind of overacts that kind of role.
I don't know. Did he even have any...
I don't think he did. He just acted like this crazy guy.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think that is what he's supposed to be.
I know, but it wasn't very good.
So he asks, you know, if they can get a room there because they can't get through the roads either, obviously. Correct. And John Cusack is like, oh, we need to use your radio and blah, blah, blah. But every time he asks to use Ray Liotta's radio...
He's like, I can do it.
He goes and does it, and he says he can't get anybody on the radio.
Yeah.
So...
And at one point he asks, well, can I do it? And he's like, no, I'll do it. Or whatever. He really doesn't want to let John Cusack near the radio. And at one point he takes his shirt off. And isn't there like a hole in the back of the shirt that you see?
Who's that?
Ray Liotta, the cop. I think there
so,
was.
yeah.
And you find out about that later. But yeah, it's. I thought that was interesting. It was like a little clue they give you. This dude's got a hole in the back of his shirt. That's kind of weird.
Yeah. So they end up all getting these rooms at this hotel. They're all in the same place at this hotel. And the lady that got hit by the car is not in good shape. They're keeping watch on her. John Cusack is. They want to try and rush her to the hospital, but they can't get through the water. They try one more time to like get through the water, but they can't. They just can't. So they end up turning back around. They're stuck in this hotel for the night, basically.
Correct.
Well, then people start getting killed.
The actress goes first.
The actress goes first.
They find her head in the laundromat, in the
Right.
washing machine. That's a pretty cool scene. They hear like this, like, did they find her body first? Yeah, they found her body first with no head. And then they hear the washing machine going, and they're like, and he checks all of them, and then one of them, the head's in there.
And they find a key with her head.
Yes.
So there's room number keys.
Correct.
And they start with 1, right? Like, she was number 1.
Yeah, I think so. Or it was 9.
I think it was 1.
Okay.
I think they went up.
They went up. Okay, so it was 1. And then at the
no, maybe they did go down.
Oh, and Ray Liotta handcuffs the crazy guy, the prisoner, to, like, the toilet.
Yeah.
And so she ends up dead, and so they...
Mom went into the garage for something, but I don't know.
All right, so... Sorry, we got a slight interruption there. All right, so... Go ahead.
So Jake Busey has been handcuffed to this
Toilet.
and they're all like, "Oh, obviously he's the killer. Like, this is the maniac, right?"
Because when they go back, isn't he's escaped?
He's gone, right?
Yeah.
Like they go, "Where is he?" And Ray Liotta's like, "He's handcuffed. He didn't go anywhere. He's handcuffed to the toilet. I checked it and everything."
Of course, they all rush back.
They rush back in there, and he's gone. So
he somehow
he's on the
pulled
run.
the pipes off the thing, and they show him like running into like a ditch or something, don't they? I don't know. He was running. He's still handcuffed. I don't know.
I don't think they do that yet. I think
That's later.
Maybe
Okay.
1 or 2 murders later.
Okay.
They show him running.
Who's the second that goes? Oh, it's because so the young couple were fighting, right?
Yeah.
And you start to get some of their backstory. Like somehow she was pregnant, so he married her, and then they're having a big argument. She's like locked herself in the bathroom.
Yeah. And then he's like trying to get in there, like violently trying to get in the door because they're fighting, and then all of a sudden it stops. And she's like, "What's going on?" So she unlocks the door and he's like dead.
Yeah.
In the other room. He's been killed. And
So that's 2 down. And then there's a 2 key by him.
Yeah. I think it might actually go the other way, but
9, 8. Yeah, I think it's counting down.
Counting down.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So it starts at like 10 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And then who goes after that?
Oh, the Jake Busey does, doesn't he?
Is it him next?
Because they catch him and they tie him to a chair.
Oh, yeah.
And then...
So they catch him and they're all like, they know it's him, right? And so they leave the hotel guy, the guy that's in charge of the hotel, to watch him.
Yeah. And he doesn't want to.
He doesn't want to.
Because not only does he hate prostitutes, he's also like a coward, apparently.
And so they all come back, and Jake Busey's dead. He's got the baseball bat that the manager had to like keep watch with. It's like shoved down all the way down his throat.
Yeah, that was odd. I'm like, how do you get a baseball bat down somebody's throat? You gotta really
somebody's got a lot of rage,
Right. I know, it's crazy.
And so now everybody's like, "Well, why did you kill him?" Blah, blah, blah.
Like, how did you do it?
And he's like, "I didn't do it." And then they end up finding a dead body in the freezer.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And so this night manager, or the manager of this hotel, he tells this story about how he came up there and he was just going to get a room or whatever, and he got there and the actual owner was dead. So he's not actually the owner of this motel.
Correct. He's just been impersonating the owner,
right? So
running it, taking
instead
the cash.
instead of like calling the cops, he's stuck him in the freezer and has been running this place for God knows how long. They don't say.
He's like, yeah, people just kept coming and they were paying me $15, so I took the money because I needed it, and yeah, it sounded good.
That's normal,
Yeah, perfectly normal.
Until somebody comes along looking for him. Correct. He's in the freezer.
Yes.
So now they're like, "Oh, well, this guy's the killer then. He just killed Jake Busey. He's killed this other guy that's in the freezer." They don't believe him that,
Correct.
And so then they end up handcuffing him, don't they? And tie him up.
Yeah, maybe. I'm trying to think. Yeah, because, doesn't at some point the father of the boy gets killed, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and the lady expires, the one who was injured, who got hit by the car.
Yeah, she ends up dying.
She ends up dying from her injuries, supposedly. Or not. Who knows? And then...
Well, they do end up finding a key under the bed.
Because the manager guy, isn't he trying to escape in the truck and he takes out the dad?
Oh, yeah. He gets out and he's trying to escape before they can grab him because they're all accusing him of this stuff. And he ends up hitting the dad.
Yeah, he plows through him and bashes with him to the side of the building or whatever.
Right.
And every time someone dies, there's a key with the number counted down.
Right. They don't realize it on the
They just think
yet.
it's their room key, but yeah.
But they don't realize it until later on some of them.
Correct.
Like, they're like...
Because then the next person who dies, it's the manager guy, right? Doesn't he get killed? And it skips a number. Or no, it's the girl, because her car explodes, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Because she's going to escape.
It's her and the little boy. They're getting ready to...
The one who was married.
He's like, just take them and drive. He's like, even if you can't get past, just turn around and drive back. Like, keep driving.
Yeah.
Because this is crazy with everything that's going on. So she takes the kid, and they're getting ready to leave, and the car explodes.
Yeah.
So it's her and the little boy go missing at that point.
And at that point, they find a key for her, which seemed odd, because her boyfriend already had a key. And it has a number, but it skipped one. They're like, well, where's the 4 or the 6 or something? And they go back to the dad who got hit by the car, and they pull the truck back, and there's a key in there.
And then I think that's when they find the one under the bed, too.
Yeah, so they're finding all these keys, and they are counting down in order.
Yeah.
And so at this point, we've got the kid, we've got Ray Liotta, the cop.
No, the kid's gone.
Oh, the kid's gone?
Yeah.
All right.
In the explosion, remember?
Okay. All right. So we've got Ray Liotta, the cop. We've got John Cusack, the ex-cop. We've got the prostitute. I think that's all we have, right?
Yeah. And then they find out that Ray Liotta is not who he seems to be.
Correct.
He's actually... I think one of them's going through the glove compartment. I think it's the girl.
Oh, yeah.
The prostitute girl is going through the glove compartment, and she sees that he's actually an inmate, too. So him and Jake Busey were actually escaped together.
Correct.
And then he just impersonated the
cop.
the guy that they killed or whatever, the cop.
Which is weird, because if that was the case, why did Jake Busey escape? Wouldn't he played along?
Yeah, you'd think. But I don't think he was that bright.
Yeah, that could be.
So I think Ray Liotta just kind of told him to shut up and go with whatever he said.
Gotcha. So, and at this point, this is when we start to find the first twist of the movie. We don't want to spoil that.
Do we not?
Do we want to spoil that one?
I think. Okay. So this guy that's on death row, we end up finding out that all these people that are in this hotel are actually his personalities. He has multiple personality disorder.
Correct.
And so they've given him something to make all these
therapy,
people,
basically. I think it's therapy, and he's trying to get his
to confront
personalities
each other.
Correct. To get his personalities down to a manageable number. So you're in his head, at this motel is in his head, and he's basically killing off these personalities.
Right. And so what they're trying to do is make sure, because there's only one personality
that actually committed the murders and is guilty of the crime that he's being put on death row for.
If they can prove to this judge that the murderer is gone from his personalities, then they will just send him to a loony bin instead of killing him, basically.
Correct. And at this point, it's pretty obvious that the prostitute is not the murderer, and John Cusack, ex-cop, is the good guy. But this Ray Liotta guy who was posing as the cop, who's the convict, he's the murderer. So it basically is John Cusack and the prostitute, who's Amanda Peet, right? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Are trying to kill Ray Liotta because that's how this guy is going to get off death row.
Right.
Right. And that's...
Do we want to
go further than that?
Do we want to talk about what happens after that? I mean, I don't want to say the very last part.
Yeah. Okay, so John Cusack and her try and take out Ray Liotta, and they're successful, and they kill him, and of course...
But also, John Cusack dies in the process.
Correct.
So basically, it's just the prostitute that's left.
Correct.
And so they can prove to this judge, hey, everybody's dead except for this one personality, and it's a good personality. And so they try and prove that to the judge, and he's like, okay, well, we'll go ahead and let him go to the mental institution or whatever then.
Correct.
And so her big thing, she was always talking about what she wanted to do was go to Florida and go
raise a peach orchard or something.
Yeah, like a orange farm.
Orange farm, that was it, orange farm. Yeah.
And so it shows her in Florida, and she's going down, and that she's basically got her dream house and everything. And then there's a big twist at the end,
which is cool. I love the second twist because the first twist was cool enough,
right?
Where it was all the multiple. it was really cool the way they did it. Because, okay, so you're watching this, you're like, okay, so people are dying, you know. Well, then all of a sudden, stuff that doesn't make logical sense, like bodies start disappearing.
Yeah.
And like when the car explodes, it's like, well, how the hell did that happen? You know what I mean? And then there's the cool scene where they're all sitting there and they're like, oh yeah, you know, my birthday's next week.
Yeah,
And the other person's like, my birthday's next week. Mine too. And there's like 5 of them. They're all like, our birthday's all the same date. And that's when you start getting the sense that there's something else going on here. And that's when they have kind of the big reveal. There's also that cool scene where they show the guy on death row at the judge. He's at the meeting. And he thinks he's...
D'Onofrio, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Is it really him?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't realize that was him. Because he was kind of chubbier. But
What's his first name?
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think it was him. I thought it was somebody else. All right. So anyway, there's a scene where he like thinks he's John Cusack. Like John Cusack has taken over.
And they're talking to him.
Yeah, and he's like, I was just at the hotel. Why am I now tied up in this chair talking to these people?
Oh, and they explain to him that that's what's going on. Is
Correct.
like, you know, so you need to make sure you get rid of the murderer, and one of the good personalities is left. Is basically what the doctors tell him.
But they like show him like a mirror, and he sees like his real face, and he thinks he's John Cusack, and doesn't see John Cusack's face, and he like freaks out, and then he goes back in and tries to takes out Ray Liotta or whatever, and ends up dying in the process.
Maybe it's not Vincent D'Onofrio.
I don't think it is, but I'm not going to call you a liar on air. They kind of have the same face.
I thought it was him though.
Nah, it might be. I don't know. We'll look it up.
All right.
So
anyways, and then there's a big twist at the end that we don't want to give away. So
yeah, but yeah, I think what really like this movie had it cool. I knew what the twist was when I was watching it because I'd seen it before. It was still really well done, I thought. I mean, if you, like, once again, don't think too hard. Like, think a little bit, but don't start, like, pulling the strands, because it'll probably unravel.
Like, the first time I watched it, I really loved this movie a lot. But going into it, knowing kind of what's going on, I still enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was good, but I didn't enjoy it as much.
Well, I would agree with you, except when the second twist hits. I'm like, oh, that's such a cool second twist. I loved it. It was really cool. Like, I really liked it. Yeah. And I totally forgot about it, and so that's why I think it hit even better.
Because I knew the whole time.
You remembered the second twist. Yeah, it caught me off guard, so I think I got some of that, extra, twist going. So, yeah, it was good.
Cool.
All right.
Good movie.
Maybe there's some connection between all of us.
Like what? My birthday next week.
Me too.
Me too. Yeah.
All right, we decided it's not Vincent D'Onofrio.
It's not.
But that's okay.
But it looks like Kingpin a little bit.
A little bit. All right, so let's do directing. Which movie do you think was directed better?
You go first. Let me think about it.
I'm gonna say, I'd probably say Identity, just because I think it was trying to juggle a lot more complexities in the way that things were coming here and there. I thought it was a little more complex, and I thought the directing was better. I liked how the timing was of the different scenes and how they revealed a certain amount of information a certain amount of time. I thought that was really good. I mean, Secret Window had some of that as well, but I just thought in general, Identity seemed like a much more exciting movie too. There's just a lot more going on. Like you said, in Secret Window, it was just Johnny Depp by himself most of the time.
I think both of them did a really good job of directing, though. I mean, I don't really see either one of them having a huge edge.
No, not a huge edge. It's pretty close. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be Identity. Just because juggling a little more characters and a little more...
I thought the pace of both the movies was pretty well done.
Yeah, no...
I'm going to have to call it a wash on that one.
Yeah, that's fine.
For me.
All right, what about writing?
Writing. I like the story of Identity a little bit better. I like them both a lot. But just, like you were saying, with the direction, just the complexity of, like...
Yeah.
There's so much going on. Like, these two different stories, and you don't know how they're really intertwined, but then, like, towards the end, everything starts making sense.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's hard to compare a little bit, even though that's what we're doing. But yeah, I think Identity's probably better on writing as well. Just because, like I said, it's a little more complex, they're juggling a lot more stuff, I would say. All right. Acting.
I would have to give the edge to Secret Window on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you on that, because I think Well, Johnny Depp is a really good actor.
I think he did a really good job in that. I think John Turturro did a really good job in that as well.
Yeah.
And really, there isn't a whole lot of interactions outside. I mean, there's his ex-wife, which we see occasionally.
Correct.
Which I don't think... But mostly it was him and John Turturro.
Yeah, that was most of the interactions.
I think the cast and Identity was so much bigger that, I mean, I think there were certain performances that were really good. Like, I think John Cusack did a really good job.
Yeah. Even though there was no performance that, I thought really stood out.
Right.
Like, they all did their job pretty well, but I didn't think any of them, really sold it. Even the big twist with the, I mean, even with the convict guy being, having these multiple personalities, it's not like I thought he really knocked that out of the park. It was super convincing, I mean. So, yeah, I agree with you. Definitely better acting in Secret Window. I think maybe when you have an ensemble, you just, if one guy is not carrying it, it can drag the rest of the cast down, maybe. Cinematography.
I'd have to give that to Secret Window as well, as far as, the nature and the...
Yeah, it seemed like it was filmed a little better, maybe.
I mean, there wasn't really much to the cinematography of Identity.
Yeah, but they had, the water and the rain and the scenes and the lighting. I mean, there's a lot there. But, yeah, I thought Secret Window felt like a little more...
Visually appealing.
Yeah, it just seemed more solid.
Yeah.
I mean, there were parts of Identity that just felt a little... Not cheesy, but maybe slightly lower budget in some ways, I don't know.
Yeah. That was early James Mangold,
It's true.
He's polished it up quite a bit.
He has polished it up quite a bit. So, yeah, I think that's our main categories, right?
I think so.
Neither one had a lot of special effects or any kind of thing like that. So I was just trying to think of what Oscar categories are. There's directing, writing, acting, cinematography.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Best score, best,
Yeah.
We're not going to get into all that.
All right, so here it comes, showdown. Do you want to go first? Should we write it down and reveal at the same time?
Reveal at the same time. I already know what I want to say.
We may agree, I don't know. I liked Identity better.
I did as well.
Okay. Now, going in, you obviously were a much bigger fan of Identity.
Yes. Actually, I really enjoyed both of these films. That's why I was excited about this one, because I had watched Identity a little bit, not as far, Secret Window I watched once, when it first came out, and I really enjoyed it at the time, but Identity I knew, I'd seen it more recently, so...
Yeah, like I said, I think I enjoyed both of them. They were well done, but Identity kind of takes it just because I felt like there was, although it maybe almost tried to do too much, with trying to sell multiple percentages. And when you think about it, it's it's a pretty big leap.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, and it's pretty far fetched that, and it's a pretty big twist that is asking the viewer to accept. You know what I mean? This whole movie you're watching all these characters, they're just personalities in this guy's head. It's really? That's kind of hard to swallow. But I thought they sold it good enough.
Yeah, I thought they did.
And it was fun, and it really, kept you on the edge of your seat with all the murders and people kind of, it moved really fast, and it was fun, had some cool twists. I really enjoyed the twist at the end, and so... I don't know. Like I said, Secret Window had a cool twist too. When I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's a cool twist," because I hadn't seen it coming or whatever.
Identity wins.
Identity wins. I'm sorry. Secret Window.
So is Identity better than the book?
I never read the Book of Identity.
No, I mean better than the Secret Window book.
Oh, it's so hard to compare a movie that's not based on this book to a book, so I can't really say. Kind of a different experience. Like I said, I think Johnny Depp's acting in Secret Window almost pulled it out. If anything say that movie, it would be him and John Turturro with their performances.
I really like John Turturro's performance. Did I say that already?
You did say that a few times. But I don't think it was quite enough to overcome the fact that the pace was a little slower. I just thought
both of these movies are worth watching.
Absolutely. And so I felt Identity just had a lot more excitement, a lot more going on.
I would agree with that.
And it's a cool idea. I mean, I know it's kind of cheesy. Oh, look, you're watching these characters. It turns out they're all in this guy's head. I mean, yeah, but it was cool.
Yeah.
It was well done.
It's a good time.
He sold it. So, anyway, that's all we got. What are we doing next week?
Well, I mean,
Oh, we should talk about anything else we've seen recently.
what would you give it? Like a matinee or a
Oh, yeah, we gotta give her a
full-time?
rating.
What would you do?
So Secret Window would probably be a matinee. I would say Identity's probably matinee as well. I think they're the same. They're pretty close.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one, neither one would be a full price, evening movie for me.
For me, they both are. They're both full price.
Really?
Yeah, man. I like these
Wow,
movies.
you dug these movies. I really liked them too.
I think both of them are a good time. I think both of them, make you jump, make you think, there's lots of twists and turns, and I just really enjoy both these movies.
Cool. Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I enjoyed them. They're good.
That's why I was looking forward to this one so much.
Yeah, this is a good one. All right, stop right there.
Started watching.
I'm recording now. All right, would you start watching? We're gonna talk.
It's a series though. It's not a movie.
All right, we're gonna talk a little bit about kind of what else we've kind of been watching other than our showdown, just to kind of give.
I saw Venom.
Venom. So how was Venom?
It wasn't as bad as I expected it to be after hearing how much everyone else hated it. Like, I went into it not expecting a lot because, I've been listening to what everybody says.
I was pretty excited about that movie, and then the reviews came and kind of bombed it.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was, it's not the best Marvel movie I've ever seen, obviously.
Well, obviously.
It's
Yes.
not
It's
Infinity
probably not
Wars.
even the best Spider-Man movie.
It's not Infinity Wars, but...
What is?
No, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Like, if you just go into it thinking it's going to be a fun anti-superhero movie, then
Cool.
that's what you get.
Well, there you go. I haven't really watched a lot of movies. Oh, we watched something. What did we watch? I saw 8th Grade.
I don't even know what that is.
It's about a girl in 8th grade.
Sounds exciting.
It really is. No, it's really not that exciting, but it's good. It's about this girl, and she's like in 8th grade. It's like a modern slice of life, coming of age sort of 8th grade girl who's she's kind of awkward and she doesn't fit in. Like, all the kids in school think she's like the quiet kid, and she's like, there's like the popular pretty girls who don't really accept her, and then of course she has a crush on some boy who doesn't even know she exists, and it's just kind of like her trying to find her way through middle school. And she's getting ready to graduate, but, it's just, I don't know. It was pretty real, pretty raw, just in the fact that I think we've all kind of been there, and it's like...
I've never been an 8th grade girl.
Right, exactly, not a girl.
I know that you find that hard to believe.
I do find that hard to believe. But, yeah, it was really well done. I'd give it like a 8 out of 10 probably on scale.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty solid. Like I said, it's a more of an indie movie,
I've been trying to find good horror movies on Netflix. You know how hard that is? Like,
have you seen The Witch?
Original? No.
I want to watch that. I've heard
it's
really
pretty
good things. I think that's on Netflix.
I was gonna tell you, I did watch something called The Invitation.
Oh.
Have you seen anything about that?
Mm-mm.
I would check that one out. It's pretty good.
Really?
Yeah. It was interesting.
Is it a horror movie?
It is kind of a horror movie. Yeah. It's like a suspenseful type. Yeah, I guess it is. It would be a horror movie. Yeah. It's about this group of people that were friends like a long time ago, but they haven't got together for a long time.
Okay.
And they have like this dinner party, and so one of the girls, her ex-boyfriend or ex-husband, is one of the guys in this group. So that's kind of why they fell apart. They don't hang out anymore but they're all getting back together, and like they find out like the ex-wife and her new guy are like joined this cult basically.
Oh, nice.
And so it gets weirder and weirder. It's all the setup and like everything that's happening throughout the movie. It's kind of slow and kind of like building up, and then like the ending is like the big payoff because it gets really crazy.
Did you ever see Hereditary? Is that what
I did.
I haven't seen that. Is that worth watching?
It was alright.
I've heard some people say it was really good, but it's also very kind of bizarre and out there.
It's kind of it's not really a typical possession movie, I wouldn't say, but
yeah, it's not typical.
It's
I actually read the Wikipedia plot of it, so I pretty much know the plot at this point. I'll never watch it.
It was alright. Like, if you're hard up for a horror movie, it's not.
I'm really not.
I would rank that one. Watch it on Netflix, but not in the movie theater. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I did see Skyscraper.
I'm sorry.
Have you seen it?
No, but it's like The Rock and action.
I
right?
went in like really low expectations, being like, it's gonna be Rock. I thought the trailer looked horrible. I really did. But it's like Friday night. My wife and I wanted to rent a movie. And we're like, it's a mindless Rock movie.
Sure.
Oh my god, it was worse than even with low expectations, it was bad. It's just so
I
bad.
thought you were gonna say you liked it.
No, it's
the way
horrible.
you're like, well,
That's what
thought
I know. You'd think with all these low expectations, it would at least be like.
That was with Venom. I was like, oh, well, it's a lot better.
You want to be pleasantly surprised, and I was hoping to be, but it was not. It was bad. It's like really bad.
I think I could have told you that without even watching.
I knew it was.
That's why I told you I'm sorry. I didn't even see it. But.
Yeah, no, it was not good. It's like I don't even. What are our ratings like Netflix and?
Wouldn't recommend it at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it at all.
Like if you could get a free copy, you'd watch it maybe.
I guess. I don't know if I'd waste the time. It's not worth the hour and a half, 45 minutes. So.
Invitation is worth checking out though. That was a good one.
That's on Netflix?
Yeah. Because I've sat through a lot of bad horror movies lately. Like I go to these like sites that say recommended horror movies on Netflix or whatever, and I'm like, oh, that one sounds alright, and I'll go check it out for I'll watch 15, 20 minutes. I'm like, I can't even watch any more of this.
You gotta give it more time. Maybe.
No, I mean either like the acting is terrible or the story is just like I could write better than this, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't.
There's a lot of bad horror movies out there. A lot of them. Like 90% of them, probably.
How have you not seen the new Halloween? You love Halloween.
I want to.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to at some point. I just haven't seen it
yet. Cool.
It's not Halloween yet.
It's not. It's only.
Come on, man.
The 24th.
Like a week
or something. Plenty of time. All right, cool. Well, that's all we have for tonight, I think, unless you have something else.
I can't think of anything else.
All right, thanks for listening. Tell your friends. Shoot us some suggestions on some battles you would like to see. We still have to come up with our next one. I have a couple ideas, but we'll
hash
knock those
out.
around and go from there. Thanks.
Peace.
Spread the word. Peace.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.